Hey look, it's me! Today I'm going to share 6 ways that I fill my sketchbook, especially for times when art block has me by the butt. Let's go! Okay, so I'll be using a couple of different sketchbooks just to keep it spicy. This one is my tan one. I use it a lot, but it's a dollar store find. So the paper is, well, it's dollar store paper. I can't use anything wet. The only thing I use is Posca pens or markers or fine liners. I can't even use pencil crayons because they're too waxy for the surface. And so I'm using my Crayola markers for this one. This is a go-to exercise that I do when I don't really know what to draw. Just start with random shapes. Usually I go for circles or ovals, but today I felt like rectangles. And the second that I started doing them, I realized, oh my god, like I could do like windows on a like building. And then as I started to draw them, I was like, I kind of feel like doing like, you know, like aesthetic windows like in Italy or in Europe. So I looked up Pinterest ideas for that just to get like a little bit of inspiration. And of course, Pinterest came through with a lot of pretty pictures. It really made me want to travel. Travel, you guys remember that? Anyways, I tried to use a mixture of warmer tone markers and cooler ones. I can't say that I love the color combos that I picked in this one, but I really like the idea. And I think I'm gonna redo it with watercolor in the future. So this is one of the main reasons why I do this sort of exercise, because it forces me to put something down on the paper and then I start to like get ideas, and then when I look up reference pictures, I already know what I'm searching for instead of like scrolling through Pinterest for an hour. And then even if I don't like it, I have an idea to try for the future and maybe a different medium or with a different approach. So just to recap, pick a couple of colors that you really like or just one and draw a bunch of random shapes, get it down on the paper, and then you can add details from there. I find this really helpful, and the fact that this is a cheap sketchbook is actually also really helpful because it's just one less thing that I have to worry about. I'm not treating it like a precious thing that I'm going to ruin with my art block art, It's like $4, it's got 200 pages. I can even rip it out at the end if I really want to. But as promised, I have a couple of examples from when I did this before. So I usually like more fluid, more round shapes. This one I did for Christmas. I just drew little doodles on there. This one did pretty well for me on Instagram. It looks cute. It's really simple, easy on the eyes. Oh, and speaking of cheap-ass sketchbooks, I have this next one I'm going to use. I bought it years ago from like a Hallmark-y type of store before I knew the importance of paper quality, and so I use this a lot as like my sort of art dump. But what I'm doing here is I picked 2 colors, indigo and English red, and I'm just going in abstract. So I have no plan, no reference picture, none of that. I'm just putting shapes down on paper, and it's kind of scary if you're like control freaky or you really like to plan your stuff. But it's a really good exercise in creativity and color combinations, and of course the biggest thing, which is just freedom to explore the medium, right? This is watercolor, and so it does whatever it wants most of the time, and also this is shitty paper, not meant for watercolor, so I don't really have a lot of control over what's happening, and I don't have a reference or an idea of where it's going. And it makes me feel like I'm making art like a kid again, where I'm not too worried about if someone's going to like it. I'm just exploring and putting paint down on paper, and it's fun. And a lot of times when I make stuff like this, it actually inspires, more professional quote-unquote pieces that I can put up on Instagram or show people. But I probably wouldn't have gotten the idea if I hadn't tried doing something like this. So I started this piece off terrified that it won't turn out good and I won't be able to use it for this video and it'll be a waste of time, and I ended up loving the color combos and the floral vibes, and I can't wait to try something like this again. And also there's going to be a little interruption here because my cat loves to come into my room and jump on the table whenever I'm painting, so please enjoy. Don't, Junie, It's a pain. Stop it. Don't step in the paint. Don't step in the paint. Junie, no, no. My dude, don't do that. What did we just talk about? We just said don't do it. Don't step on it. Okay, look, you can. Okay, no, stop it. It's not for you. It's paint. It's paint. I do love her a lot, but she do be testing me. So this is how this piece turned out, and the next one is along a similar sort of theme. So for this you need a piece of glass. I just stole one from a picture frame, and I just used the same Crayola markers I used in the first piece because these are water soluble. I usually use watercolor for this, but I use markers just in case for the video, in case someone doesn't have. And then I sprayed some water on it with the spray bottle, but you could also just use a brush to spray some on. And then I just press it into the page, and you try to kind of read it like clouds. So when I turned around, I kind of saw a jellyfish, but I didn't feel like doing it in that format, so I decided to turn it this way. And for that, I kind of saw a house in the clouds with like wind coming off of it and maybe some like bubbles and stuff. And I really didn't feel like going into like a lot of detail. I wasn't loving the color combinations in the background. They turned out a lot more like pinky and light than I would have wanted. So I was just kind of making like a little doodle for, you know, future reference, because I like this idea and I would like to do like a full-on watercolor piece with a lot of detail. So this is similar to the last one where I talked about how like this might not be something that I would put on my Instagram, but it does give me really good ideas for the future for when I do want to make something more detailed and more, you know, professional. It's nothing to write home about, but it's what I made. So anyways, this next tip I have is to use stickers as inspiration. I have a lot of stationery, so I just used a sticker from my collection. You can also use washi tapes or whatever you have sitting around the house. Steal some from your siblings, I don't know. You don't have to stick it inside of your sketchbook. I just did for future reference for when I flip through. And this has given me sort of similar vibes to the abstract piece that I did, you know, because I'm not following the reference sticker to a T. I'm just being very loose about it. I think this would be a really good like warm-up piece before you start painting whatever else you have to do. If there is anyone watching this, I would love to know what you do to overcome art block, or what techniques you use to try and fill up your sketchbook when you maybe really don't want to. Or maybe what are your biggest obstacles for, you know, just making art in general. For me, it's usually just starting. The blank page is not my friend. I'm always terrified. And also too much choice. That always gets me. Choice overload. I think that's mostly, actually, I learned that in school. So I actually got like a social psychology and sociology degree. And choice overload is usually referring to like supermarkets when like companies have like 20 billion different variations of the same product and it like overwhelms you. But I think it applies really well for like, you know, deciding what to paint or looking up reference pictures, because there's just so much that you could do and there's so many things that you can practice that you just end up so overwhelmed that you do none of them. And I feel like once you develop these sort of underlying feelings of being overwhelmed, then it starts to become a negative experience and your brain tries to protect you from that. But yeah, here's how this one turned out. I really like it. I will definitely try this sticker thing again. But I think it's time that we get a little more serious. So my next one is going to be a more detailed landscape of somewhere that I really want to visit, which is Japan. It's pretty high on my travel list. And I do this sometimes whenever, especially right now, like no one can leave. I don't know about, you know, where you are from, but I'm in Canada, in Ontario, and we just announced our like second more serious lockdown. They're calling it a state of emergency. So I can't go anywhere. So I'll look at pictures online and I'll paint somewhere that I really want to go. I really want to see Japan. I don't even want to see all the touristy places. I just want to walk around the streets. Their like city infrastructure is just so different from what I'm used to. And also like, you know, their like nature is really beautiful. If you go more to the countrysides or to the smaller cities, I would die to go. I really hate that it's so expensive to fly there, and the fact that like everything there is just expensive, and the Canadian dollar kind of sucks right now. So, you know, even if there wasn't a lockdown, if COVID didn't exist, I still wouldn't have been able to go anyways. But one day. So since I'm being kind of chatty, I'm just gonna keep going and capitalize on this. This is the first voiceover that I've done where I haven't planned ahead what I want to say. I just press record and try my best. And it's been pretty fun. And it feels a little more natural and less like robotic or customer service-y. I would love to do more videos like this. I've just been sort of scared about putting myself out there more personally, because I want to talk about like life and bring in a lot of the stuff that I learned in school into my videos, and talk about, you know, stuff that happens that affects a lot of us that is also kind of related to art as well. Or maybe, you know, talking shit about capitalism or whatever it is that I'm good at. But I guess I just haven't really mustered up the courage, because I don't really think that people have the time or the care to listen to me babble on about stuff. But I guess that's not really up to me. Like, I can make it and then put it out there, and then people can decide whether or not they want to watch or listen. So I think I'm gonna try that in the future. I don't think I'm ready yet, but like maybe in the next few videos. But let's go back to the sketchbook ideas. So I do this often, and it's really helpful because it makes it more personal, right? So asking yourself, you know, where is somewhere that, especially if you like landscapes, or drawing places, where is it that I really want to be right now? Or where is it that I want to go? Or, you know, where is it that I want to take a picture? And then it makes your search for a good reference picture a lot easier. You can also use your own pictures, which makes it that much more personal if you've maybe already been somewhere and you would love to go back. It also just provides another layer of escapism, so you can spend the time that you're working on the piece thinking about, you know, what you would do if you did get to visit that place, and how you would plan your trip, and what you would bring with you, and maybe who you would go with. And, well, we could all use a little bit of escaping right now. But yeah, this is how this one turned out. I really like it. I think I'm getting better at sort of understanding shadows, although this one kind of turned out a little bit muddy, but I still really like the color combinations, and I'll probably redo this piece in the future. I also just added a few little details at the end with a jelly roll for highlights, just because highlights with watercolor is a nightmare. And my last tip, number 6, is to follow a tutorial. Kind of obvious, I guess, but I always forget about that. You know, you could just follow someone who's doing all the work of thinking for you. So this is a shameless self-promo, but this little video is a snippet from a tutorial that I just did a week ago, was it? But you don't have to follow this one. You could go on YouTube and type in, you know, a more specific one, like watercolor landscape tutorial. And then what I do is I'll just like scroll through and stop, and the one that I end up on is the one that I do. And that's all I got today. Like this video if you want to give me a virtual hug, and bye!